Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I had a conversation yesterday with a guy that owns an AR-15 and 30-round magazines, and he mistakenly moved into a state that he should not have moved in with his AR and magazines. Okay, now I'm not going to get into the whole constitutional debate or the fact that I'm not going to get into the whole he should have researched, he shouldn't have moved into that state. The fact of the matter is that the guy is there, okay, and he's got his rifle and he's got his magazines, okay. And it is a temporary move, but until his work situation changes, that's where he's going to be until he's able to get back out of that state. So the guy was asking for some advice. What can he do to to potentially protect himself? Okay, so what I told him is to basically take the gun apart, take the magazines apart. Okay. An AR-15 is really easy to take apart. Okay, so I told him take the two halves apart, take the stock off, take the bolt out, take the firing pin out. Okay, the firing pin is really small and thin. It's really easy to hide. You can pretty much hide it inside a pen tube. Okay, or for that matter, you could just throw it out. I mean, if you buy a parts kit, a lost and broken parts kit that costs $25. It'll have like 25 parts in there, including a firing pin. So the firing pin only costs $1 or $2 if you're buying it in a parts kit. So yeah, either hide the firing pin or just throw it out, and you'll buy it, you'll replace it later on. The same deal with the magazines. Take the magazines apart. The 10-round magazines that they normally use in those states are basically 30-round magazines that have to be pinned so that they only take 10 rounds. So if you take the magazine apart, okay, basically you have magazine parts that have not been assembled. And if you were going to assemble them, then after the assembly, you would pin it so that it only takes the 10 rounds. Okay, so having the magazine apart, means that you haven't gotten to the point where you have assembled yet, and blocked it so that it only takes 10 rounds. So what this does is it puts your lawyer, right? Because we're talking about a really far-fetched type of situation here where where let's say there's a case of mistaken identity. They're executing a search warrant on some guy, whatever, 2 miles down the road, and they end up at your house, and they find the gun parts now. Okay, if they find a completed, a fully completed intact AR-15 and magazines, and they're gonna give this to a prosecutor, it's really easy for that prosecutor to prosecute you, to make a case against you, and it's really hard for your lawyer to defend you. Okay, now if the gun is apart, the magazines are apart, and there's at least one critical part that's missing, the prosecutor cannot say that you had constructive possession. Okay, because that's what they would argue for. If you have all the parts together, all the parts, well, obviously if you have the gun, they're going to say you have the gun. But if you have all the parts, there's still a chance that the prosecutor may argue for constructive possession. But if there's at least one critical part that's missing, again, that they can't make that case, and it really gives your lawyer something to work with. Okay, so you have a really good chance of beating the case, and it will cost you a lot less. A good chance that the prosecutor will simply walk away from the case or drop it, or especially if she sees that you have a good lawyer. I mean, this is not time to go cheap on lawyers if you're in that situation like that. So this is the advice I gave to the guy. Obviously, it's better not to get yourself into that type of a situation. Don't put yourself in that type of a state. But if you are in that situation, that's what you do. Take the gun apart, take the magazines apart, and funny enough, the person that actually gave me this advice was actually a cop. Okay, he told me this. He was in a state were magazines, in that particular state, you couldn't have, at the time, you couldn't have magazines over 15 rounds. And basically I was doing a class in that state with a pistol, and it was a 15-round pistol. And I said, "Holy, wait a second! I got a 15-round magazine here." I'm like, because this guy was actually in the class with me, and he said, "No, well, first of all, 15 rounds okay in this state. Secondly, if it wasn't, I would just tell you to take the magazine apart." So that's the advice that a cop gave to me, and that's the advice I'm passing down to you guys. Which is not to say that that some overzealous prosecutor would still not try to prosecute this, okay? But like I said, it gives your attorney something to work with, okay? Because if you have a fully intact gun, fully intact magazines, that's an easy case for the prosecutor, and the prosecutors are just looking to rack up points, okay? But if the magazine and the guns is in pieces, now that's a lot more difficult for them to prosecute. So, if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it. If you got any comments, put in the comments section. And if you think anybody would benefit from this, you can send them a link or share it. I'll talk to you guys next time.